Is Washington Congressman Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Let's start with the Strait of Hormuz, and I wonder what your understanding is of what's really happening there militarily.
Well, it seems like the Strait of Hormuz is pretty much closed. I mean, could a commercial ship sneak through? Perhaps, but none of them are going to want to take the risk at this point. And obviously that impacts the global oil and energy supply because 20% roughly of the world's oil comes through that strait. So that's pretty much all shut down. I don't see that changing until the war comes to an end, and that has a number of impacts. You know, you have all of these oil-producing states that now they're running out of storage space. They have to stop pumping. I mean, this is potentially disruptive for a long time, even if the war were to end tomorrow. But right now, it seems like that main shipping port is shut down, and the impact on oil, and there are other things that are shipped through there as well. But oil in particular is going to have a huge impact, obviously, on the Middle East, but I think on the entire global economy.
And my colleagues, Natasha Bertrand and Fred Plankin, are reporting that Iran has started laying mines. The U.S. military said it destroyed 16 mine layers. What is your assessment of that threat that Iran poses in this crucial waterway?
Yeah, we don't have it confirmed yet, how many mines have been laid, what our ability is to clear them, what more ability Iran might have. But whether it's mines or the missiles that they fired at those ships right now, or just the ongoing war, the risk is simply too high for a commercial ship to decide they're going to try to run that gauntlet and see what happens. We don't know how many mines are there, neither do they, and they don't want to find out by running into one of them. So I think it's the wider war right now that has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So obviously, before that's going to change, the war is going to have to end.
Well, let me ask you about that, because in the last segment, we were talking here at the table about something that Senator Josh Hawley said, which is that we ought to say to our heroes, thanks for a job well done. It's been astounding. It's been historic. Now it's time to declare victory. Is that a good strategy?
Yeah. Well, I think it's time to stop the war. I'm going to disagree strongly that it was any kind of victory. But look, I mean, there's three basic pieces to this. One, we wanted to degrade Iran's military capability. So that's one objective. The second objective, and this was central to this war, it was central to the reason that it was launched, was we wanted to fundamentally change the Iranian regime. Now, some wanted the regime out and to have, brand new people come in. Others, and I think this was sort of Trump's position, was even if we don't change necessarily the ideology of the regime, we will have broken them. They will be so afraid of us that they won't dare oppose us. That objective very clearly is going in the opposite direction. With them picking the Ayatollah's son, the hardliners seem to have consolidated power, and the likelihood that Iran is going to be any more amenable to the U.S. after this, it doesn't seem to be succeeding. But third, there's the cost, the part that Trump seems to dismiss without even thinking about it. Already 7 service members dead, over 150 wounded apparently, many civilian casualties, the absolute tragedy of the bombing of the girls' school in Iran that has killed apparently 175 innocent civilians, the spike in gas prices, the impact on the global economy. 14 different countries have been dragged into this. You've seen UAE, Saudi Arabia, suffer, civilian casualties as well, be hit with missiles. It has been a massive disruption to accomplish what? To degrade Iran's missile capability for some period of time. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? We don't know, but it seems unlikely that it has any sort of permanency to it. It weakened them, sure, but it weakened them at an enormous cost.
Is there a world in which, if, I know you don't support this, but if this military action continues, the degradation of Iran's military capability can be pursued even more to the point where, I don't know if eliminated is possible, but close to eliminated, which seems to be part of the president's goal?
Yeah, I think it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to eliminate it. I mean, they've got missiles, they've got drones. We haven't even talked about drones. I mean, drones are pretty easy to build and also pretty deadly. So eliminated, I don't even think the most ardent supporters of the war would argue that. Now, you get into a question of degree. How much has it been degraded? Certainly, we could degrade it more. But the real critical question is, how much can we degrade their ability to rebuild And that's where the China and Russia piece, well, particularly the China piece, becomes so important. China has incredible technological capability. They can ship dual use technology. They can work with Iran and really help Iran to rebuild fairly quickly. And we also haven't heard anything about the nuclear side of this. There's been no statements about strikes on their nuclear facilities. And Trump has said their nuclear facilities were going gangbusters. And as he said, was it 2 days ago? If I hadn't done this, they'd have a nuclear weapon by now and they would have used it by now. The last part of that is insane, of course, but we haven't heard anything about how we are degrading their nuclear capability, given that the president has said it was such a grave threat before this war started.
Let me just go back to oil for a minute and also connected to Russia, because the president announced that he is going to waive certain oil sanctions to help reduce oil prices. The average price of gas here in Washington, D.C., excuse me, not in Washington, D.C., where you are in Washington State, you probably would say the real Washington, is $4.72. That's up 66 cents from a month ago. Do you support easing sanctions on Russia to get those prices down in the short term?
No, I don't. And by the way, it's always been my position that every square inch of the United States of America is part of the real America.
Okay.
I like to divide it up and say, oh, it's Trump's America. It's the real. No, it's all America.
Of course.
Can we please just sort of bring it all together? But no, I don't support easing sanctions on Russia. And that's another downside to this war, is it's given a bit of a lifeline to Putin. And no one's paying attention, but Ukraine has not just stopped Russia and Putin in their tracks now, they're retaking territory. Russia is substantially weakened. That the ability of us to pressure Russia into ending this war is greater now than it's been. And if we ease the sanctions, if we give them an economic lifeline so it prolongs the war, that too is an enormous cost. So no, I don't support easing sanctions on Russia as Russia continues to bombard Ukraine and attempt to take them over through an act of force. I don't think that's a smart policy right now.
Congressman Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, who represents the state of Washington. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Always good to talk to you. Up next, President Trump flexes the power of his endorsement. He had to pick in advance